Explain just briefly how you ended up in the UK. You claimed asylum.
Yeah, I came here to live with my mom. Basically, she was sort of a controversial journalist, so she couldn't actually stay in Iran. And I wanted to be with her, so.
Why couldn't your mum stay in Iran?
She got threatened from the government. She got threats, basically. They said you should leave the country or bad things happen to you. They sort of trashed the car and put like a sign, leave the country, or something like that. So kind of outright threatened her.
And they were also writing editorials about her in the newspaper, weren't they?
Yeah. They still do. They still like write about, her personal life, like with a new husband. They do all that stuff. Sort of. It's like a journalist war between my mother and the journalists that support the government.
And now you're starting a career as a filmmaker and making a film project. Also, Fredo, she's an artist as well as being in the army. Are you actually in the army? Because you've got an Air Force, isn't that an Air Force?
Yeah.
Do you want to say a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, I think it's a lot connected to what you said about being controversial, saying things that nobody wants to say. Because I think that what we're struggling with is that our society is trying to form us to be a certain person. We're not that person. Every person has their own unique way to go about life. But what's easy to manage for a government is people who think alike. And even though America is a free country, right? It's literally a free country, but so much of the media just controls people's thought. And I think that because of that, like, the way to reach them is through social media, through films and articles and things like that.
What's your relationship with the media coming from Iran and then also working now in London? Because your mum, when I interviewed your mum a few years back, she talks a lot about the media, and there's like everything had to be passed for censorship laws then. I don't know what it's like now.
Yeah. Well, the media is just completely at the hands of the government. No free. It's not free like America. That is all. No one's being pressured into doing propaganda. They have to do propaganda. Basically my mom is an example of that. If you don't agree with the government, you get threats, you get sent out. Easy as that. So.
Also, your mum told me a story once about when she found out she was pregnant with you.
Yeah.
What was that story? How come she was in prison?
Well, my parents, they were sort of real rebels when they were kids. They got to prison because they were publishing banned books, passing them around the town. My dad actually punched an intelligence officer, and they got to prison in the end. I think for less than a year. My uncle was in there for 3 years. They were teenagers, really, and they sort of, their crime wasn't that big. They just sort of published books that were banned, so they let them go after a year.
Yeah, knowledge is dangerous to the government, because the more people know, the more people are enlightened, the more they can be free.
You were saying you feel the same thing being originally from America, but now in Israel you still feel that the media is controlled?
I feel that the media is controlled on a lesser scale. I think that what happens with the media is that it's not the government. The government doesn't control the media in America, but it's a cycle of society where people who are rejected by one system go and create another, and that system ends up being really angry, creating anger in the youth, and people that are angry aren't not necessarily the healthiest people.
The same thing is kind of happening in Britain as well. The people really don't feel that they're being represented by these by their politicians, so that's why they're angry. And the politicians are protected by the media. And then there's a new movement with what's that actor called?
Yeah, I know.
Russell Brand.
And he sort of represents the sort of the angry youth.
He wants anarchy, right?
Yeah, he's an anarchist.
Yeah, he sort of makes YouTube videos complaining that and protesting that we're not really represented fairly in both in politics and the media.
If you're coming from one world, coming into another whole headspace, you know, where are you holding?
It's much better here. I have to say, even though there's bureaucracy and corruption, it's everywhere in the world. I think there's much more freedom and much more stability in the government, in the nation.
Another question: what's your perception of Israel?
I don't know much about it, to be honest. I know the war. I know the conflict in Gaza and Israel, but I guess there's bad blood in between both sides. But people have the right to live where they want to live, and no one should force them out. And that's what, to me, that's what seems Hamas is doing, just waging war because they want to throw out a whole group of people, which doesn't make any sense.
The perception in Israel, though, is like a lot of the world's against Israel. Would you agree with that? And there's quite a lot of fear.
More against the sort of the way the government waged war recently, and it's a recent thing. I think the whole negativity of the West against Israel, because I think the whole world isn't against Israel, but the Middle East was always against Israel. The West was on its side until recently with the whole Gaza debacle, and it's just the government that sort of was defending itself but wasn't doing the right thing. It's like it all depends on your viewpoint. Does the end justify the means? You know. What do you think? Was it true that a lot of children died, more children died than the people actually part of Hamas during the bombing of Gaza?
A lot of people died, and the reasons for that, I think that are only because Hamas just used all these places that people need. Like, those people are literally the Palestinians. I feel so bad for them because, like, the thing is that, like, we have our back, right? We have our own back. But the thing is that when there's people shooting rockets at your family, what are you going to do to defend that? Somebody's trying to kill you. Are you allowed to kill him? But the problem is that they put those people in the way, and they put them in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What happens is basically in order to kill them and destroy them, you also are damaging the children that they put in the way. Yeah. I mean, they're complete assholes. They're terrorists. There is no moral thinking with them. But it is with Israel. There is some sort of expectation from Israel, which is a democracy, which represents sort of a stability and future of that region. But with Hamas, you expect them to do what they're doing. No one should root for them, not even now. I think all the sort of the conflict right now with the people is just that. Yeah, again, does the end justify the means? Should they have attacked Gaza in a different way? Should they have used a different technology or something like that? I don't know really. To be honest, I'm not part of the military. I don't know how these things work. I think you have a better idea. So
I'll tell you what happened. So during the war, they found tunnels, right, under Gaza. Now they were leading into kibbutzim. I know people who saw the stuff that they were planning. They were literally planning on entering these kibbutzim. They had the timetables of everyone who lived on these kibbutzim. They had everything planned out. And on Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, they were planning on going through these tunnels and carrying out a mass terrorist attack and just killing a lot of people. And the crazy thing is about this, the whole war started because they kidnapped those 3 boys, which is like a crazy tragedy. But, like, when you think about it, like, everything is planned out. Like, if that wouldn't have happened, the war wouldn't have started. They wouldn't have discovered those tunnels, and then so many people would have died. And then there would have been a war anyway. and then both sides would have suffered casualties.
And what about, because a lot of it in the geopolitics, especially from like the Israeli Prime Minister, a lot's been a lot of propaganda against Iran both ways. It seems to be like they're the big nemesis that like are facing off. Like, you know, what you read a lot of the Iranian press as well. What are you taking? Yeah. So you know, I've talked to your mum about it quite a lot, and there's like a mixture of scapegoating. Do you think as part of it? Scapegoating of Israel.
Right now, I think there's sort of a common enemy that, you know, both Israel, the West, and Iran can find. It's ISIS. Really, I don't think any of these three governments agree with ISIS. So right now, there could be this could be a sort of a common cause to make the relationships a bit better. And to be honest, I don't think Iran talks a lot, because that's the way. That's how they. That's one of their methods of propaganda. Just creating an exterior enemy, Israel and America, to sort of fool their people, to basically support them against the others. The sort of like what communist Russia was doing to America, and what America was doing to communist Russia, making a nemesis. But it's different. Russia was very powerful, and America was very powerful, and they both had nuclear bombs, and there was a huge threat. Right now, I don't think Iran's gonna develop a nuclear bomb, because they're having these talks with America to stop creating the bombs, so they could get off these sanctions that have had a lot of economic damage to Iran. I think the relationships will slowly improve, but very slowly. I don't think they're going to get worse. I don't think a conflict between Iran and Israel will happen anytime soon or in the future. Yeah.
My own personal thing to put in is that I think I feel as a Jew, it's the fact that the Jewish state has nuclear weapons is something very worrying. And I've always felt that, because I feel that a state that was founded upon sort of spiritual principles from the Torah, from the Bible, from a land that was given to us by God, that we feel we have to defend it with weapons of mass destruction ultimately. And my own personal opinion, it's just my personal opinion, is that I think peace starts and ends with the Jewish people, with Israel, and they have to show bravery in that.
The only thing that's going to cause the other side not to drop a nuclear bomb on us is that we have one, then we should have one. It doesn't mean we're trying to drop it on them.
That's a theory, that's a defence theory, but I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I've had quite a lot of discussions with people over the years about that. I don't agree with that theory.